All right, welcome to Chai Chat. Let me pour everybody's chai. Usually Father Andy does this, but I'm taking his job. It's probably a good idea to take that cap off.
Oh,
Thank you, Bruno.
Yes, it's hot.
It looks really, really hot.
Yeah.
That's
Father Andy
exciting.
made it. I don't know how to make chai. I don't even like chai, to be
Should we
honest.
check it then?
Really? Yeah. Test it.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe we can start this episode. This is going to be, as you guys see, a special episode. We talked about doing this for a couple of weeks ago. That we're going to do a consecrated life or religious life episode. So we wanted to invite two of the sisters and myself and one of the brothers to come speak to you guys about what religious life means in general. But I want to probably start with just introductions because nobody on Chai Chat has, well, probably the community has seen you guys, obviously, but people watching Chai Chat not necessarily. So if you can just, say your name and give a brief introduction about yourself, that would be nice.
I'm Sister Magdalena, and we're sisters we're Chaldean sisters from Daughters of Mary Immaculate Conception from Iraq. We started in 1922, so our 100-year anniversary is actually going to be coming up. We're excited to celebrate that. And I entered in 2012, and God willing, next year I hopefully will be making final vows. So I'm excited about that.
Is that standard, 10 years?
No, it's you go through a formation, and from the formation you have the postulancy, the novitiate stage, and then once you take your simple vows, it's a 6-year process, and then until your final vow is the 7th time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Sister?
So I'm Sister Lord, and I've been in the convents almost 7 years. I joined the convent was 2014. So I came to United States 2011. So after 3 years, I decided to join the convent, and I was blessed, to be honest, to be with Chaldean sisters. I never knew that we have our own order as the Chaldean sisters, because in Iraq, Tel Kiev, we used to have Dominican sisters. Yeah, but when I got here to United States, I was introduced to the Chaldean sisters, and that was a huge blessing for me. And I have 2 more years for my final vows.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow. Very nice.
Yep.
And you were introduced over in Michigan to them, right?
Yes, actually, we were living like there. The novitiate home was only 5 minutes away from my house, and I never knew that was like a convent. Like I never thought about convent being next to my door. Yeah. So there, I got interested. I got to know that.
Yeah, very nice. Good. Brother?
My name is Brother Sinan Salim, and I began first in the seminary, and so a few years there, Father Andy kicked me. I'm just kidding. I'll just say I started to really have a draw towards the religious life, and thinking that we didn't have that expression within our Chaldean rite, actually within the United States. So I just didn't know what to do for maybe a little while, but by the grace of God, Father Ankido was part of a new order that was the first order to be started on American soil, and I think I was in like a mass at St. Peter's at the time, and I remember Bishop Sudhead mentioning that we're going to have a monastery, and I just remember shooting up from prayer, like, wait a minute, could it be, the desires of your heart coming to fruition? And so for me, it was a very organic kind of God calling me deeper and into more of a contemplative life, and it's been amazing ever since. So.
Yeah, very good. Good. So we started the order. Sons of the Covenant is the name of our diocesan monastery, and we serve St. John's Church. That's kind of a monastic parish, and we all serve there. It started off for a little while. It was just me and Brother Sinan and someone else. He ended up leaving, so for a little bit it was just him and I. For like maybe like a year and a half, something like that, right? Yeah. And but now we're up to 7 guys total.
So did you get to live together at the seminary?
Briefly we did.
Okay.
Briefly we did, because I wasn't a priest yet. He was in the seminary and I was in the seminary. And then months before I was ordained a priest, we started the monastery. And then I was ordained and while in the monastery. And then he came in a few months after that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I know there is different types of religious life. There's the contemplative, there's semi-contemplative and there is the active. Like we're sisters, we're active. And nuns, that they call them the contemplative. So in your case, is more contemplative than actions, or?
It's it's not clearly defined,
Yeah.
but the way our life goes, it's almost semi-contemplative, because we have the parish also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're Sons of the Covenant, B'nai Qiyamah. This is a very ancient name for religious in the Church of the East, in the early church. Mar Ephraim was actually one of the.
Started?
Well, he was one of the members of the Sons of the
Okay.
Covenant in the early church.
Okay.
And so we kind of actually take up after him in that he is consecrated to God and he serves the community as well. So Mar Ephraim wrote a lot of our liturgy, the Hadra and things like that. And he did it for the sake of the churches. So he's working in and out of the churches, but he's also very contemplative. And so that's kind of our expression of religious life is like that, where we have a heavy prayer life and a lot of silence and things like that.
Yes.
But then we also serve the community. We offer our prayers publicly. We interact with the people and so on.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of both and contemplative and active.
I can add one thing.
Yeah.
That book, The Soul of the Apostolate, that Father Simon assigned me because he's my spiritual director. And I think Father Ankido is the first one who gave it to him. And so just by a beautiful chain of events, I think the active life is definitely born out of the contemplative life.
Yeah,
There is
you
no
have
real
to have
active
to.
life
Yeah.
without
contemplative.
there being a contemplative life. So that's what I'm learning a lot about. And ultimately, you have to stay grafted into Christ if you want to do anything. He says, without me, you can do nothing. So, but I like the Dominican spirituality, I'll be honest. It is that dynamic of contemplative and
work.
active.
Yeah, that's why St. Benedict, pray and work.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So we have to put a lot of time for prayers at the same time to work. So it goes hands in hands
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
comes from the other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I touch this or is it going to burn me?
No, I think
No,
it's
it's not. I thought it was 2, and I was like, let me put. No, it's not
not
bad.
that bad, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
good job, Father.
Something about the glass. This glass in particular.
stick on.
Yeah, the
Stick
stick
on. Yes.
Yeah.
These are like the really OG, old school ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should see our logo. Our logo is exactly one of these.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
I think it's on the
cool.
front of this table somewhere.
Oh, that's cool. I mean,
Oh,
I
for
didn't
the
notice it.
Chinese-
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the monastery logo. That'd be funny.
That's comical.
No, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
So what's your guys' life? So it's mainly active. Do you have? I'm assuming you have a contemplative aspect to it too. What's the prayer life like for Chaldean sisters?
Yeah. Well, to add to what Sina was saying, to be honest with you, the religious life, when we say we're active, first and foremost comes, our relationship with the Lord,
Right.
and the depth of it. And then from there comes community life. So first, it's my vocation and my relationship with the Lord. Second is my community and how I'm living with my community. Just like with a family at home, you always say home first, right? The family is is the church at, is the little church, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, same concept, same idea, and then it comes to the community at large. So, we start here in San Diego. It's a little different, but in general, we won't do
Yeah.
time frames, right? So, in general, we wake up to a bell usually,
Yeah, we do
and
too.
yeah.
Rings the bell, by
I
the way.
ring the bell.
Oh,
I
you're
ring
the
the
bell
bell.
ringer.
You do?
Yeah. I do it 7 times for the like.
So do I.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's so funny.
And 3 times for each ring for the Trinity.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I might do that, dude. That's gonna really annoy them because they already get annoyed by the one
So,
7
okay.
times.
Yeah, she does. It's pretty cool. I like it. And then, so we wake up to the bell, and then, we start our day. We have a little bit of time to prep ourselves, and we start our day in chapel, and we do our community prayers. We pray Sapra together, and then in Chaldean, yeah. And then we meditate on the gospel for about a half hour. And then we join together in the kitchen, and we have all of our meals are together. So we have breakfast together, and then we start our day's schedule. Usually it's like preparing ourselves for Mass, or if depending on what time Mass is at each location. But of course, there's Mass at, every day is Mass
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
So that's part of our vocation. And so then after Mass, you continue with your day's work. We gather together again. Some of the missions and definitely the novitiate gather again for noon prayer. It's a very short time frame of prayer.
We've been to the noon prayer with you guys.
Yeah,
before,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
It's like an examination of conscience.
Yeah, it's-
reading Psalms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
It's really, I love it because it's so simple. And
Yeah.
it's just like, it's a moment to just sit in front of Jesus and appreciate Him and kind of like just relax before you enter into another
Nice.
community gathering of meals. So we have our lunch together, and then we clean together, and then we continue our day's responsibilities, and then we gather again in the evening for our evening prayers, which always includes rosary and litany, and then we have a plethora of different things, and a time of silence with the Lord, and spiritual reading as well. And that's all during the evening prayers. And then also, most of our convents also do, of course, Ramsha prayers as well. And then we have our dinner together again, and then we recreate together. And then we call it, grand silence after that.
there's
And,
no talking.
yeah.
Like we don't use social media. After 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
everything is shut.
The entire
Yeah.
order has that time frame.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, all types of electronics and media should be.
Unless if we have something, we'll ask for permission for it. But like
Yeah.
for lights, it should be
Lights out, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
got, there's a little bit of time frame, but
Yeah.
honestly, like with
get
convent
tired.
life, you're exhausted by the time.
9:30 you're in the bed.
I used to be. I was telling Brother Sinan, right? It was
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
that I was talking to.
A long time ago, yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, we were having this conversation. I used to be a night person, okay?
Oh. Yeah.
I'm still struggling in the morning, okay? 10 years later. But I'll tell you, I find it more valuable to be up earlier
Yeah.
than to stay up later. Like sincerely, in my vocation and in my relationship with the Lord, when I wake up an hour earlier rather than stay up an hour later, I don't know how the Lord allows me to complete all of my tasks when I'm up that hour and I give Him that hour rather
Yeah.
than, all that last minute, I have to get this done at at night. I've really experienced that so many times.
That's a really good point, actually. In the book Soul of the Apostolate, he says the author of that book, I don't remember his name, but he's an abbot of a big monastery himself. He's dead
Tom
now.
Shoutard or something, I think.
Yeah, Chittard, something like that.
Yeah.
I think everybody should read that book. But he says basically that exactly. If you give God, the first part of your day, and He'll somehow, in a mysterious kind of mystical way, He'll
It is.
allow you to accomplish all your tasks.
Yeah.
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 And even it's funny because there are some times where I don't get a chance to get it all done, but somehow it got done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
exactly, yeah.
so, and sometimes it's like I don't know how I could have possibly done it myself, but I did it. And sometimes it's really like He really helped me out.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
that was someone did it without even telling me they were gonna do it. It was like, oh, it's done.
Yes.
And like when you start your day with a prayer and you give
Yeah.
that part of that time for God, really whatever you do during the day is like with peace.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not like
Absolutely.
with rush and attitudes or something, but like you do it with peace and God is present in you
Yeah.
during that time when you're working. So
I
that's my
think-
experience. Like when I give my time to God.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something. Obviously, all of us were in the world at some point as just regular lay people
Yeah.
before we came to this vocation. And I love what you guys are talking about because I'm hearkening back to if now as religious we could probably share our war wounds through the process and how maybe our holy hours are not as amazing as they used to be and things like that as God takes away the sweetness and the honey through our vocation, but it's because He's obviously calling us deeper. And so I was going to say, I remember when I used to go out, when God called me back, even as a layperson, now I knew I had to go to Mass on Sunday and all the things that were obviously pegging yourself on God first and then trying to have everything be secondary, which is obviously the struggle of someone in their first fight coming back to the faith. But I remember if I go out without prayer, and I was a businessman, it was literally going out without any armor, and I was
Yeah.
not prepared for all that was going to be coming at me. And I would
Exactly.
just capsize and then go back to a moment in time that, you know what, I ran out of the house, trusting that this phone call, that this problem was what I had to go put out a fire for today. But the fire was inside that ultimately I didn't kindle first before leaving the house. So
Yeah.
Sure.
that's ultimately, I like that spirituality is still in our life right now.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when we forget that, we'll struggle much more than necessary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
And I think it was Saint Padre Pio, correct me. Yeah, I think it's Saint Padre Pio when he said, if you're not busy, you can pray for 1 hour in a day. But if you're busy, you can pray for an hour and a half
Yeah.
in the day.
Nice.
And
So
actually, it's a half
the
hour
more
and
that
1
you're
hour.
busy, the more that you're gonna put like a time to pray in
Yeah.
order you can accomplish all these works that are required from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, through the grace of God.
Mother Teresa says something similar, kind of in the opposite way. She says, if you're too busy to pray, then you're too busy.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So the idea is that, like,
100%.
you've busied yourself
It's like
too
I'm
much. You
just
got to
too
get back to, you know,
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
get back to the roots, what really matters. You know?
Right,
Exactly.
because and we have to be careful because that falls into, you know, we had done recently a talk during the season of Lent, and one of the talks I gave was on sloth. It was, you know, for
Yeah,
the
laziness.
vices. And I never like looked at it in this way until I actually studied it. Like, you know, I knew sloth and I've, you know, learned about it, and in our classes in seminary, you know, we learned some things, but then, you know, when you research on it, you really get to know what the virtue, what the vice is. So I remember reading with sloth, someone can be extremely busy and yet still be, you know, suffering from the vice of sloth because their attention is completely about them and what needs to be done rather than on the Lord and the purpose of life.
And sometimes, and you know, actually, sloth is the first of the 7 deadly sins, right? And they,
Sort of.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the one that I think that characterizes the rest of them. They do that intentionally, you know, because sloth really means spiritual laziness. Like, we're not giving
Exactly.
ourselves over to God, and we're not paying attention to that because we're intentionally distracting ourselves from something else because the
Right.
interior life is difficult to confront or something. you know?
Yeah.
So even though we're busy, we're not being lazy with our bodies. Yet we're neglecting the most important part because
Exactly.
of we're kind of repulsed by the interior life because of the difficulty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, piggybacking on Mother Teresa, I remember one of her sisters had requested that they spend a little less time in their daily holy hour because of the needs of the poor and the people in front of them. And so, in her prayers and reflection on what the sister said, she instead of making it less, she doubled the time for us to for them to kind of understand really the need. The people will be healed by the Lord, not by our, you know,
Exactly.
our due diligence.
She's very strict.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Actually,
That's
I read
so much
somewhere.
wisdom, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
wisdom.
wisdom.
I think I read somewhere that she used to spend 2 holy hours in a day beside the community prayers. And imagine,
Still,
like, she was
got
so
much
busy.
accomplished. Yeah.
Wow.
So that, I mean, that to me, that really encapsulates the religious life,
Yeah.
right? Is that this idea and the truth that for religious, we give ourselves to God first, and God accomplishes in us whatever He wants to accomplish.
100%.
And whatever He desires to accomplish in us, He will accomplish, and it's enough,
Yeah,
right? So it's not really about us.
not at all.
It's really about Him, so we give ourselves over to Him.
Yeah.
So when people ask, you know, because we get this question a lot, probably you guys get this question a lot too, and I think all of us do our fair share amount in the church and the work in the church and everything, but people always ask us, oh, so what do you guys do? You guys don't really do anything. You just sit and pray all day. You know, it's like,
That's what we thought when we first entered the convent.
yeah.
We thought we were going to spend the whole time praying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
now
was like, for sure, I'm going to be holy because I'm going to be in
Exactly.
front of Jesus all the time. And then I entered.
then we entered the convent. Now we're praying to God to give us some time to spend it with Him.
That way we can actually have time with Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny. It's a really funny like dynamic.
Circle,
that
yeah,
happens,
dynamic. It's better. So.
But like, how is the community life?
Ours?
The
Yeah.
brothers?
Actually, you were telling us like your schedule. It didn't sound like ours. It sounded
Yes.
just like ours.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We wake up in the morning. Ours, you know, bell rings at 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we offer our prayers. We do it in the church, and we offer it to the public. A few people come in the morning and things.
Okay, so you pray in the St. John,
Yeah.
like the chapel. Okay.
Yeah. We start with the rosary at 7,
Okay.
and then Sloth Sapra, morning prayer,
Okay.
and then we do a holy hour adoration, and then we do Sade, so the martyr hymns, we chant them for like
Yes.
15 minutes, and then we have the mass at 9 o'clock.
Okay. So you separate the sahde from your sapra?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it because the Sapra, we do it in the very beginning. Sahade is something that a lot more people come to it right
I
before the
get
mass.
it.
I
I
you
get
know?
it. Yeah.
So it's kind of practically for them, they like that.
They enjoy it probably.
Yeah.
These prayers are beautiful.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then after mass, we have a 2-hour study time, quiet study time. Our grand silence goes from 9 p.m. the night before until 1 p.m. until after lunch.
Okay.
Also it's silent.
Yeah.
Okay.
so-
Oh wow! So
Your
you're the
meals?
whole time like you enter into prayer, so that's communal, but then everything else is silent, including your breakfast.
It's silent, and we don't have breakfast. Yeah, we do lunch.
It's open. If
We
somebody
wait, yeah,
wants
if somebody,
to, they can.
if somebody wants, they can at right after mass before the study time. But that's more individual. We have lunch together,
Yeah.
and then dinner later on. But the lunch is silent with we play the Bible on this audio thing. We have
We
an
do
audio
it.
Bible.
Yeah, we do it special like during the lunch.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
there's- yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that's
there
very
there are
traditional.
certain seasonal times, or we also have like monthly retreats.
Mhm.
But we totally cut you off, so go ahead
Oh, no,
and
that's
complete your.
Yeah, so 12:30 we have a Saint Joseph prayer because he's our patron saint of the monastery. Saint
Oh,
Joseph
yeah.
is. So we have this little prayer to him. We sing a hymn and ask for petitions and things. And then Ramsha, obediences from after lunch until Ramsha, and that could be each person has their own duties
Yeah.
in the monastery.
Some of us are
you
in
know.
school. Some of us,
Yeah.
some are in philosophy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Some have
will
other
clean,
duties.
Some will do. So one of the
Yeah.
guys is sacristy. Another guy does outside, like
Gardening.
grounds work stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
And then I usually do a formation class with them at 3:30 before Ramsha. So
That's
that's
awesome.
one day is Chaldean, another day is theology, another day is music. Monica actually comes and helps us with music.
Very cool.
And then Ramsha at 4. Well, actually a half an hour adoration at 4:30 to 5, and then 5 o'clock Ramsha. And then in the evening it's a little bit more free until our recreation time, which is at 8:30. Night prayer at 9, and then grand silence until
Oh, okay.
until
Yes.
11:30 lights out.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
all the religious life almost they have the same schedule.
it's very
Yeah.
similar.
Because it's
Yeah.
the same route, like we got it from our fathers, especially those who started in the desert and then they brought it here to Western.
Did you mention the open night prayer at 9?
Night prayer is also open. Yeah,
Yeah.
9 o'clock. It's a short night prayer and it's 15 minutes long.
You mean open to?
Open to the public.
Okay.
Oh,
All of those prayers that I mentioned are open to the public. We
Very
do them
cool.
all at St. John's, and people can come freely, and we've announced them and everything.
Do you have
Okay.
chapel at the monastery?
We have a little private chapel
Okay.
upstairs. Actually, accidentally, because we had to reconfigure the house when we moved there to split the rooms and fit all of us there. And they made one room very small, and you couldn't even fit a bed in there.
Okay.
So we didn't know what to do.
That's
You know, so-
perfect.
That's
See,
the
God,
trouble.
He's like, I
Yeah.
want to be here.
Exactly,
You have to
yeah.
be between
Exactly,
you
yeah.
guys.
Well, that's
But-
theological now. I think he didn't have a place to lay his head.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
bed, no
Yeah,
bed
so
allowed.
Jesus said, "That's my room. I don't need the bed."
Exactly, yeah. And I asked the bishop, I said, can we just make this a chapel? He said, yeah, go ahead. And we've actually decorated it. It's really nice. It's small, so it's for private prayer, and we
Of
go in
course.
there, individually to pray.
Okay.
But yeah, all of our monastic prayers are done in the parish.
Awesome.
Okay, that's a beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah. What about like cleaning, wise, cooking?
Everyone has a
Okay.
duty.
So
Yeah.
you have a schedule like who's gonna?
Yeah, we're not gonna say what everyone does.
It's okay. We
Some
do
are gonna
too.
be holier than others.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So-
the same here. Like some of us cook, some of us like we take turns. One week somebody will cook because like one of the sisters will lead the prayer, the other ones like they will help in the kitchen. Then the next week is gonna like we take turns. And for cleaning we all like clean together. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's
Very nice.
beautiful.
a nice big convent.
Teamwork.
So
Yeah, community
Teamwork
life.
makes the dream work, you know,
Yeah.
legit.
So a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe each one of us can answer this. It might be very personal, but I think it's a good question. How has religious life, living in the convent or the monastery, helped your relationship with Christ? How have you seen your interior life transformed through it? And I think that for sure all of us have had that experience, but I think each one of us can give a different perspective. So.
Okay. Start with Sister Magdalena.
Can I have Sinan go first?
Brother Sinan, yellow.
Okay. One way, okay, I will just say it this way. I used to be like the owner of my company, and so in that, when you don't have someone to answer to, I think it's a very scary reality to have on a soul, because when you, at the end of your life, whatever you thought was right, and if you are not in dialogue with God, it's very, very easy that you'll be rendering account for many things that you missed, and it's a very scary reality. So the beauty of this life for me is that it's just like how you flipped it on me. I thought I was last. I get time to think. And you said, "Can you go?" And then I'm like, "Oh man!" So same thing. God has flipped the paradigm of how the worldly mind thinks to where He completely changes it in the fact that now you are dependent and you realize you cannot rely on yourself. So the reality of I can do nothing without you is so tangible because you have a superior, you have brothers, you live in community. So you can no longer, like when I used to pray alone, and I used to, you think you're like with the seraphim now, you're so holy, but then someone comes and knocks over the pot and it breaks. That was my heirloom pot, what are you doing there? And then you get angry and you realize, wow, there's a lot I don't know about myself. Yeah. And I think you can't stay hidden in this life. It's a very beautiful, transparent, freeing reality that, you know what, I have 6 other brothers and a superior that can catch where I need to work, and it will come out even if I try not to, even if I place a veneer, a false reality for them for a little while, it will not hold up because we're a family ultimately, and it's such a beautiful thing. So that's the freeing thing for me, is that my soul is not just on me now.
He loves that.
But trying to be a child and actually come to the way that God has created that fatherhood now, that's the part where I'm still fighting, because it's like, I want to be able to just go right now to, grab that thing. But, there's a beautiful thing of having to come and ask for permission, or Father, can this be? And so that tension, that's the real, where the battle is ultimately giving up of our will.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you going to share, Father?
I'll go ahead. So I love what you said, honestly, Brother Sinan. It's very realistic. Really, it is the more that you get to know yourself, and really with religious life, you really get to know yourself.
Yeah.
You have no choice. So the more you get to know yourself through the beauty and the faults as well of your sisters, you start to realize, okay, I too am at fault. I too have issues. I am not perfect. And I need to work. Yeah, exactly. And I need to work on myself just like I want them to work on themselves. So, so that reality has really brought me a lot closer. And then also, I'm going to be honest with you, the fact that we moved here, Michigan is my home. I was born and raised there. That's my life. That was my life in all reality. But today I say that's not my life anymore, because my life is with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so I am very confident that if I was in Michigan right now, I wouldn't be as happy as I am here, because this is where He wants me to be. Mm-hmm. And so all the more reason for me to be more dependent on Him. I've grown a lot more dependent on Him and realized how much I need Him here, because there's so much that's new. When you're home, everything's familiar, and everyone is familiar, and you know this person, you know this place. I don't need to ask somebody how to get to a location. Thank God we have Navi now. Yeah. But I mean, just to give you guys a gist, so, but it's like there are so many things that you really start realizing when you enter into a new environment. There's so much different. There's so much that you don't know. And that reality helps me in personally, to like kind of grow in my relationship with the Lord, because I'm like, God, I need you. I need you so bad. And he is so happy because he's like, I know you do. Thank God you do too, you know.
Yeah.
So he's like, finally you're getting to know, yeah, you need me and I want to be here for you. So he has been very present to me in many different ways, and very laxed with me sometimes, too laxed, and I'm like, I need you more, you know. But it's been really a blessing overall in my vocation, the more that I have gotten to know myself and my community, because the more that you get to build a relationship with each one of your sisters or your brothers, the more you have to die to yourself, because that's what true love is. It's a constant dying to yourself. Like, Sister Lourdes has faults, so do I. So I have to love her not just for her good, but also for her faults, and vice versa, in order for us to have a real relationship and to build each other as a community. And then be able to build the people around us in our community and elsewhere. So, and even in my little dying to self, I'm very confident that I'm not just building her and myself, but I'm also building the world through that dying to self. The Lord is making use of it in so many different ways. So that confidence, that blessing, continues to encourage me and to build me in those little ways.
Oh,
Very
beautiful.
nice. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So to me, religious life, really, like, I was, like Brother Sinan said, I was living in a world, and like literally after I joined the convent, the picture was so clear to me that I was living in a darkness. Like, our life was like secular. I used to go to the church, but like I didn't know Jesus. I used to go to receive him, but I didn't like feel him presence in my life, because I was just so focused on this in this world and what I'm doing to myself, and like just being with my friends. That's like secular things, living material things, materialistic life. But when Jesus invited me to be his spouse, and I said yes for this, I was like a song of songs when the bride say, "At last I found whom my soul loved." Literally, I found Jesus. I found my spouse in the religious life. And now religious life, the will of God is so clear in our life, because it's through the superiors, the obedience to them. And we know, like, we have the 3 vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience. And it's so clear. If you live them the right way, there is the way to the holiness. And we have it by like obedience, especially obedience to the superior in everyday life. So that's the religious life to me. It's so clear, the will of God in it. And it's like this light of Christ. It's just like every single day, with the beginning of a new day, he's calling me to be again his spouse, to be the event, like to go outside in the world to evangelize for his name, to bring soul to him, to quench that thirst. When he said on the cross, I thirst, to bring soul in different ways. Like probably washing dishes, I offered to God. Somebody made me mad that day. Okay, just be silent, I offered to God. And I'm very sure you experience all this. It's these little ways that St. Teresa of the Little Flowers spoke about it. These little ways that we live them during the day and offer them to God, are these the ways that who take us to heaven. So religious life is full of these little ways, that we have the chance to love them every single day in order to bring souls to Jesus, and at the same time, we are the one who are leading these souls to Jesus. So we are with them to go with Jesus. So that's how it's the religious life. I'm like a fish in the water. If you take me out of it, I will die. So it's the air that I breathe. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've been given the opportunity, thank God, to understand on a deeper level and a more realistic level the love of Christ for us, because the degree by which we are called to love, right, the members of our community, the members of our church, etc., in a religious life, it's heightened by like 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're living together and all these things. And it comes with a lot of difficulties, and so it calls us to come out of ourselves that much more because we're trying to imitate Christ in all things. And so, I mean, I've learned to get a kind of a glimpse into Jesus's cross and his love for us, his passion, by my requirement, my calling, Christ's invitation to me to daily die to myself,
Right.
for the love of God and for the love of my brothers and the community and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really, beneficial for me and spiritually uplifting for me, edifying, because I come to understand how much Jesus has done for me and how much he's done it out of love for me when he didn't really have to, and that makes me feel valued in response.
Absolutely.
And so it gives me even more desire to give more of myself to him. So it's just this kind of like constant building up of love through difficulty and understanding. That's been my experience of religious life, and I mean, I thank God for it every day.
Yeah,
Very good.
literally
Yep.
every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
So this has been very fun. Usually we end with the guys do at least with Amazon purchases. Like they look up what they bought on Amazon last time. But we all talk about poverty, so I don't think we're gonna do that. So we'll just end it there.
That's
okay.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, like we have, that beautiful vow of poverty, and it's not just, that means I don't have money or I am not allowed to purchase things. That's not always true. Like in order for us to support the community, sometimes there is a financial need. However, true poverty in its best is when we are completely focused on the Lord, right? And so when I've given myself to the Lord, and I no longer look at myself as something of my own possession or something of my own at all, but I rather look at myself and say, I belong to you. How do you want me? Where do you want me? That's the true poverty. And then that helps us to be able to control ourselves so that we don't have to purchase things on Amazon.
Yeah.
or if we, or to be able to discern well when we do need to make a purchase or whatever. So.
Yeah, poverty of spirit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love, like St. Ignatius of Loyola said, that all created things are good in as much as they can bring us closer to God. So as long as they are basically discerned in that way, is this helping me? Okay, this laptop is going to get me through my master's program. So as a monk, do I feel really bad? I'll make a joke. I mean, which monk has a smartwatch?
Okay.
Only one doesn't answer his phone. So
I
by
made him get a
obedience.
smartwatch because he never answers his phone. You see what I mean? So
That's comical.
So does that help?
But that,
no, he still doesn't answer his phone.
but I don't have cancer in my left arm. That's all. It's gonna help. It's gonna help later. You know, get on.
So.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Maybe we
likewise.
can do this again. It was very great. We'll pray for each other, and of course we're going
For
to be
sure,
praying for
for
all of you
sure.
guys as well.
Yes, always.
And thank you, Father Andrew.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you,
Beautiful.
Father
Thank
Have
you.
a
Thank
nice.
you.
Looking for the sugar though.
We're sweet enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yellow bye.
Cheers to that.
Bye.
Bye.